Welcome to Harry Potter and the Anxious Millennials, a show where we delve week by week into each chapter of the Harry Potter series.
Hello. Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Who is this? What is this? Who's this person? Who's
This is a new character. That's my lavender brown impression.
Oh, okay. I was like, what was the drag queen? Black Cauldron, Cauldron Bottoms.
Cauldron Bottoms.
The Black Cauldron, the Disney movie.
The Black Cauldron, the Disney film.
Very scary.
Let me just take a sip of my Prosecco. Actually, I think it's Brute.
Brute. You brute.
You absolute brute.
You absolute brute. Anyway.
Arri,
how are you?
Arri.
No, don't do it. No. Mute. Don't do it.
I'm just going to go into it. Arri, this week, you know what we read? We read chapter 14, and it was called The Unforgivable Curses.
It was.
What happens in this chapter?
We learn about the unforgivable curses, are introduced to Spew, and Hedwig's back.
I honestly wanted you to just be like, Hedwig came back.
Hedwig's return.
That's it.
Is what this chapter should be called. Yes, Hedwig's back. I'm very happy about it. Not very happy about how she was received when she returned, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Buckle up. Pretty immediately in this chapter, Harry observed. Yeah, please, thank you. Is that the car jostling?
9 and 3.
9 and 3. I just saw you doing this, and I was like, the car. Uncle Vernon driving.
It's even better because this sweater's so slouchy. It's like
the sweater is like a very similar, like peachy tone to your skin too. So if you did it just right, yeah.
And it's very dewy, like my skin.
Dewy, yes.
The sweater is wet, is what I'm saying.
Sweater is wet?
I'm wearing a wet sweater.
Oh, you cannot tell at all. Is it raining? It's raining over there?
I'm just kidding.
Oh. You can't do that with me. I'm like, oh, what's the weather like? So pretty quickly in this chapter, Harry observes that Snape really does not want to be around Moody at all. He will not make eye contact with him. He's like kind of actively avoiding him, which, as always, is excused by the fact that Snape wants the rumor is, Snape wants the Defense Against the Dark Arts job. So he just hates any teacher that comes in and fills that position.
They haven't learned by this point that it's got to be more than that.
No, us readers at this point should know that. Like,
no, I know. I just feel like by the 4th year, you really have to be like, there has to be something deeper to this man than wanting a job.
When you're 14, it's that simple. You're just like, he just hates.
It's that simple.
He just hates those teachers, and there's no other reason.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, let's talk about Quidditch.
That's all it was with Lupin. He was just mad he had the job instead of him. There was no other factors whatsoever in his hatred of Lupin.
Not at all. That was it. The day has finally come that Harry's class is going to have. The day has finally come. That was hot.
Shout out to the day.
Shout out to the day. Happy Climax Day. Stupid.
The fucking worst thing I've ever said on this podcast.
I don't know. That one podcast where you kept making period jokes, I was like, what is this?
A never-ending supply of comedy. The menstrual cycle.
Is it?
You sure?
You sure? They're very Yeah. Blends right in. I can't even see it. Especially because your sweater's wet. Blends right in.
This was a white sweater, and I bathed in. I'm sucking on the shit.
You know, like the wine bra? This is wine sweater.
This is wine sweater. You just like so dumb.
What is happening? This is not how I thought
unhinged.
This is
I'm unhinged. It's because Ari has kept me up so late tonight.
It is really late. We need to let's get on this so you can go to bed. Okay. Harry and his classmates are very happy that they finally get to have a lesson with Moody because everyone's been talking about it, you know. And then Moody shares that he will be there for 1 year. Ron's like, "Oh, you're not staying, you're leaving?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm only coming here for 1 year to help Dumbledore." So he came out of his retirement as a special favor to Dumbledore to teach Defense Against the Dark Arts. And then he's going to go back to retirement after this 1 year of teaching. And then he...
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
If you haven't read this book, cover your ears.
Yeah.
He's already Barty, right? He's Barty through the whole book.
Yeah, we meet him. When we meet him, it's Barty.
This is just what I mean is like, I think Barty should be winning Best Actor. Because like...
You want to talk about...
He doesn't have to teach them counter curses to the Unforgivable Curses.
He doesn't have to teach them that?
No, he could teach them whatever the fuck he wants. He could teach them incorrectly the entire year.
True. I don't know why. This is the part that, like, we kind of touch on this a little bit with Barty Crouch Jr., that it's like, some of this doesn't really make sense. It's like...
No.
Hold on.
It's a great gag. Listen, it's probably the best gag of the series.
Yeah.
This like reveal.
Yeah.
This is the one you do not see coming.
No.
She doesn't telegraph this one at all in the slightest. I mean, there are tiny hints
when you go back. Yeah, it's really fulfilling to go back and read it. But
not while you're in it.
I don't know. I'll ask more questions about Barty Crouch Jr. and like what's happening in this chapter, even because it's like,
okay, you can uncover, listeners. If those who haven't read it, you can uncover now.
Tell them to cover their ears in the first place.
I did.
Oh, you
said
did?
If you haven't read the book, cover your ears.
Oh, okay. Then Moody reveals to them that he's going to teach the Unforgivable Curses 2 years early because he thinks that they need to be prepared. And I was like, okay, so 6 years, they learn them regardless. Like, it's the same lesson that he's teaching technically. I don't know. But they
so the twins are getting this lesson also this year.
Yeah. Okay. Which is probably why they came into the Great Hall being like, he knows, man, while they smoked a doobie.
He gets it. Fuck, bro.
Yeah. Whoa, man. Like, that's literally the vibe I get from that exchange. So while he's kind of going over things, it is revealed that he is in Moody. While Moody is going over things, it is revealed that he can indeed see through solid wood because he calls out Lavender Brown for finishing her horoscope and leave her alone. She wanted to show it.
You only are giving Lavender a pass because it's a horoscope. That's the only reason.
Correct. I am not a Lavender girl in any other sense of the word, but because she was doing her horoscope, it's very exciting. Let her celebrate her birth chart, her natal chart. Let her get into it.
I'm a Lavender girl because Bora Hay.
Yeah, Moody snapped at Lavender. And because there was a theory about he could see out of the back of his head, which also he can. But then now they have further confirmed he can see through other things as well, not just the back of his head. So then he starts asking.
So now this is the question. This is when anytime you talk about being able to look through something, you have to ask this question.
Well,
can you see through clothes?
There is a line in this book that answers your question. So I am not going to answer that question for you right now.
Oh, no.
Yep. So moving on. Listeners, there's some listeners out there that definitely know what I'm talking about. Moody starts asking the students to name any unforgivable curses that they know. And so Ron offers up the Imperious curse, and Moody recognizes him and asks if he's Arthur's son, which, like, are the Weasleys the only redheads besides Lily Evans? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Just because he has red, I mean, that to Moody's point, it is Arthur's son, but like,
wouldn't you think that he would know it's Arthur's son because he already did roll call and his name
he already
is
did
Weasley?
roll call. Yes, so that was, I don't know, something about that moment for me. I was like, I have some questions here.
Here's what I will say. I don't love that Ron is the one that knows the Imperious Curse, not because I have a thing against Ron knowing things, because I'm pro Ron being not an idiot. It's that the other two, well, I guess not Hermione. But
Hermione knows all of them, so.
The other two that we learn about have, like, people in the room have been affected by those.
Yeah.
And it was annoying that, like, the Imperious, she didn't really have anything to, like, reference or, like, even anything coming down the pike that we, like, learn about later.
Yeah.
Like, we never really learn about Imperio, just apart from, like, some people were, like, coerced into doing things by the
well, like, had no free
keepers.
will.
What the fuck are their names? The Hoods. What are their names?
Dementors?
No!
Death
Eaters! Girl, I said Kingdom Keepers. That's a book.
Ring Wraiths, Adam. Nazgul. Get
Clan
it right.
members.
Ghost of Christmas Future. Or whatever. What is it? Christmas?
Yes. Christmas.
It is Christmas Future?
Christmas yet to come.
Christmas yet to come. Okay. All the
Congratulations soon, Christmas, on yet coming.
What is happening? We can never record this late for Adam again. Hey! Yeah, and he says when Ron offers the Imperious curse up, he's like, oh yeah, that one gave your dad a bit of trouble at the ministry. Why?
Okay.
He works in the misuse of Muggle artifacts, correct? That is the name of his department? Misuse of Muggle.
We're both supposed to entertain the notion that misuse of Muggle artifacts is such a non-important piece of, like, the wizarding world that Arthur Weasley makes essentially no money. It's just a passion project for him. His life is impoverished because of it. But also that the Ministry of Magic is, like, 6 people big and he's one of those 6.
And
like,
he knows everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, one of our listeners sent me a message on Instagram, and they made a very good point about Arthur's connection to Ludo Bagman specifically that you and I completely missed, Adam. He, like, helped his... Oh, what?
Ludo's the top?
Yeah, that's what she messaged me about.
You're so serious. You will not believe what we missed. What we miss. They're both verse.
Yeah, verse. They trade in and out. They're verse. No, she was like, his brother Otto, Arthur helped him out of some pickle.
Who's Otto?
His brother, girl.
When did we hear this?
Heather's there too.
Otto's married to Heather. Yeah. When did we learn about Otto?
Apparently, you and I completely missed it. It's in the chapter right after Dudley eats those things, the tung toffee. Let me look. I was like, oh, is that? I literally was like, oh, is that? Did JK write about that, like, on Pottermore somewhere? And she was like, no, it was in a chapter of this book. And I was like, oh, well, we missed it.
Girl, I can't go looking up every single name and girl, That's not what this podcast is for. I like Ludo. He was the one who got us such good tickets for the cup. I did him a bit of a favor. His brother Otto got into a spot of trouble. A lawnmower with unnatural powers. I smoothed the whole thing over.
He said that. What does it say? What chapter that's in?
It just says the book. It doesn't say the chapter.
Oh, maybe it's maybe it's the Portkey one then when they're walking.
Oh, I'm sorry. It does. Chapter 5, Weasley's Wizard Wheezes.
Yeah, that's the one she said. Oh yeah, page 61 for me. This is why. It's while Percy's talking about cauldron bottoms.
Oh.
Cauldron bottoms took precedence, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Ludo. He was the one who got us such good tickets for the cup. I did him a bit of a favor. His brother Otto got into a spot of trouble. Yep, that line you just read. So that's how we know. So that's how we know. Thank you, listener, for sharing that with us. Imperious Curse, that's the one Ron offers up. What were you doing earlier? And then there's 3 spiders. Moody takes a spider out and demonstrates the Imperio Curse, which at first everyone's laughing and having a great time. And then Moody makes the point, would you like this if you were the one that was being Imperious? And then everyone kind of shuts up. But then he says there's a way to fight it and I'm going to teach all of you. So I'm like, you're telling them that you're going to Imperio them? You are doing a spell on students. So. Yeah, girl, he does it in this book.
Oh. I've never read this book series before. This is my first time.
News to Adam.
News to me.
And I was like, I'm not going to talk about that too much until we get to that chapter where that's actually happening. But I was like, this I am not okay with. So he's demonstrating on the spider. Then he asks for the next curse. And then Neville.
Well, hold on. We get his catchphrase.
Oh.
We get his one dream. TXT. Imnidad.
Constant vigilance. I said that. I have that note, but it's just it's later in my notes. When he said it for like the 5th time, I just wrote constant vigilance.
Yeah. It's great. I wonder if that's like a real Moody thing that he was like, oh, Moody says this, or if this is like a Barty thing.
Or like a Churchill inspired like doesn't that seem like something Churchill would say?
Sure. Very that. Yeah.
Constant vigilance. Like pounding his fist.
Gary Oldman playing Winston Churchill.
Yes.
In The Darkest Hour.
Oh, what is it? What's his name? John Lithgow.
Oh,
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow, yeah.
John Lithgow as Churchill. Winston Churchill. Neville offers up the second curse. This was so sad. I was sad at this part.
Yeah. This is the moment where I was like, I really think that Neville might have the greatest arc in this whole series.
I think you're right. I would agree with that.
This is the Samwise Gamgee of this book.
Right.
And Sam's my favorite character in literature.
Oh, in literature. Oh, wow.
So.
Moody starts demonstrating the Cruciatus Curse. Well, at first he engorges the spider. Poor Ron. I was like, ugh. And then he does the Cruciatus Curse. He crucios the spider. And I was like, I understand it's a spider. So I understand why people would be like, whatever. But I'm just like, it's very uncomfortable to read. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And all the kids are watching, and then Neville gets really upset, and
it's very visceral. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very visceral. And she wrote, Hermione said shrilly again.
I know.
And I was just like, I'm over it. I'm going to roll my eyes every time she says it again. Like when you actually go in and count how often Hermione said shrilly is written, it's way too much.
It's way one time is enough. Too many, to be honest.
Especially because,
but it's like it's a constant adjective that she uses for Hermione specifically, and no other character.
Yeah, no other character. Thank you. Only Hermione. I don't even only Hermione. And also, Hermione is telling him to stop because she is the only one that is aware of how upset Neville is. So it's such a weird, I don't know, something about that for me. I was like, stop that. Stop like talking about her in that way when she is actually being a very good friend in this moment. So then Moody.
Emotional labor.
Yeah. So then Moody, kind of stops, and then he gets the last spider.
This is the funniest one to me.
Why?
And I just mean, I like that Hermione whispers the spell. Like, every other one they've been like, the Imperious Curse, the Cruciatus Curse. And she literally just says the spell name. And then they later when they talk about all three, they don't say the Killing Curse. They go Imperious, Cruciatus, and Avada Kedavra, which I get. It sounds better than being and killing.
But they do later refer to it as the Killing Curse, or does he? Moody calls it the Killing Curse at one point.
He does here, but when he summarizes them all three again later, he says Avada Kedavra specifically.
Okay.
And I just have to believe that in the Muggle world of the Harry Potter series, abracadabra must not be a phrase. Because I feel like
bibbidi bobbidi boo.
Any Muggle-born students would laugh when they hear the words. Avada Kedavra. What did she say? What? Girl. Shut up, girl. Ooh, spooky abracadabra. Oh, it's real? Oh.
I love that you had such a strong reaction to that. That's so funny. Yeah, Hermione whispers.
It's just silly.
Avada Kedavra. Avada Kedavra. ASMR. Avada Kedavra. Avada Kedavra. And then Moody goes to grab the last spider, which is scuttling around. And I was like, I don't like this. It's that it almost knew he was about to kill it. And then he just kills it. And then he just kills it. And everyone is just which that was the part where I was like, what did you think? You thought he was kidding? Then they were like, I was like, he just told you. He just told you. Okay.
Yeah.
I understand though. It's in terms of it's shocking that something just died in front of you. But I was like, you just watched the other two curses, which were also disturbing. So of course it's going to save the Killing Curse for last. Or I guess Hermione was going to.
Yeah. What if the first one someone had suggested was Avada Kedavra? He was like, no, you have to, there's a flow to this.
Hold on.
Hold on. We gotta build up to
There's a build up. Let us have the build up.
There's a dramatic tension we have to build here. Excuse me. Thank you.
I was like,
I'm not just gonna blow my load at the beginning. Good Lord.
I hope not.
How many spiders did he go through for all of these intro classes?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was thinking in the back of my head too, that I was like, I don't like this. I know it's just spiders, but I don't like it. I don't know. It just made me feel icky. Yeah, what?
I would say this. I think it would be okay to use Avada Kedavra on certain pests that get into your house.
Yeah.
So in that regard,
mosquito.
That fucking mosquito.
Sure,
that goddamn fly on the wall.
Yeah. This is where my constant vigilance note is.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah. And then they all leave the class. Oh no, I'm sorry. I forgot one thing. So he's I understand what Moody is saying to the extent of like they need to understand and they need to know. I just don't like the idea that he will be performing, I think, just Imperio. I don't think he performs the Cruciatus Curse on anyone. Although that does happen to students under Severus Snape's watch. So,
oh yeah, in the 7th, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't like the idea of even Imperio. I don't like the idea of that being used on students because I'm like, did their parents sign off on that? I bet they did not. Don't think those kids want to be doing that either.
Do you have a signed permission slip to visit the Cruciatus Curse? Yeah. I don't think so.
Definitely not.
What's the safe word?
You're right. So the students all leave the classroom and they're all just kind of like, whoa, that was nuts.
That was heavy, man.
And
it's fucking heavy, bro.
Yeah. Our golden trio approaches Neville in the hallway, who is just like very sad. Yeah. Just like out of it and like in shock and like trying to act. Yeah. Trauma response. Like trying to act like he's okay, but he's like very clearly upset and like he can't even really like talk. He's just like very distracted. And then Moody comes out, but remember that this is Barty Crouch Jr. and he like comforts Neville in this moment.
Yes, it's crazy.
This is like,
what I'm saying. Oh, yeah. Best actor.
If we're talking method, this is method, honey.
Honey, Daniel Day-Lewis has nothing on Miss Barty Crouch Jr.
No, nothing. Jared Leto, who? Yeah, so
Marlon Brando, why?
So that was not my favorite moment. I was like, oh no.
It is in theory, like I like the removing the knowledge that it is Barty Crouch Jr.
It's a nice moody moment.
Very sweet. And I like that later when we find out that he like gave Neville like a book about herbology or whatever and like told Neville that he heard he was like really good at herbology and Neville was like very proud of himself.
Right. Yeah.
That is like there's also I don't know. I think the whole Neville thing too, like Harry has a really hard life and I'm truly not trying to play like Pain Olympics.
No.
But I think it must be a level of horrifying that you can't even like wrap your head around. Having being an orphan is like something that I think happens to a lot more people than people's parents being like alive but basically catatonic. Like I think that is so horrifying.
Yeah.
And like I think the way that his storyline is rolled out over the course of this book series is like really well done.
Yeah.
Like when we go to St. Mungo's
like,
in the next book.
The element that it could have been Neville, like Neville could have been the boy who lived.
I do think this though. I think kids are so interested in their birthdays that like a lot of kids just like ask each other when their birthdays are, and I think we would have known before this moment like when we get to it that Neville's birthday is the same exact day as Harry Potter.
When do we find that out? Not until book 5 or something, or 6?
5 or 6.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean that's a long time.
I think it's 6 because it's when they go to the Department of Mysteries in book 5 and then he asks about it in book 6, right?
Oh, it has
to do with the prophecy.
You're right. I think you're right. Yeah, right. The prophecy, right.
I've never read this book series before, but this is a guess. I'm making
Who's Harry Potter? We only know Bertha. So
main character Bertha Jorkins.
Main character Bertha. So yeah, Moody comforts Neville. There's like a little exchange about how won't the ministry be mad that Dumbledore is letting this happen, and I was like, the ministry is in no place to tell anyone what they should be doing ethically. I was like, I mean, I agree that like this is a bit much to practice imperious on students, but I was like, the ministry, no.
Of magic?
Of magic. No. And then they get back to their dorm room. The boys get back to their dorm room, and Moody has given Neville this book about water plants, and that's a very sweet moment if we're just thinking about Moody.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just moves into Harry and Ron bullshitting their divination homework, which I was just like, their homework is literally to make predictions. I was like, well, then they could say anything. You're setting this up, Sybil. Like, they can.
I mean, this is all she does. She just makes up shit.
Yeah, right. She's trying to train.
That's what she thinks. That's what she thinks it is.
She's like, this is it. So I liked that moment that they were just like, oh yeah, all these terrible things. Because he's right. Just write about how all this awful stuff is going to happen to you. And she'll be like, oh yeah. Great. While they're bullshitting their homework for divination, Harry notices that Fred and George are huddled together in a corner and like they look very serious. Just remember that for later.
This is like
Harry doesn't want them to know that he was looking at them though, so he looks away.
If there's like sitcom rules and there's A plot, B plot,
this is
that plot is like, girl, it's like F plot.
Yeah.
It's like so far down on the list. It literally doesn't come back until like the end of the book.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we get like one more. There's one time at the Owlery where they walk in and they like overhear them. So like one other moment where that happens. Yeah. So yeah, he looks away from Fred and George so they don't know that he was staring at them. And then Hermione comes in. So before she even gets into the Society for the Promotion of Elvish Welfare, not rights, Elvish Welfare, Ron makes a house elf joke. Did you catch that?
He says we've been working like house elves.
Yeah. And she's like, and then he's like, it's just an expression. And I'm like, but it's not. It isn't.
It's not because we've never heard this expression. B, you're a bad friend because you have to realize at this point how invested Hermione is in this. So Hermione my note literally is, and here we are, we have arrived, spew. Hermione introduced, well, they say spew, and she goes, it's the Society for the Promotion of Elvish Welfare, to which they don't listen to at all. They just say spew. Okay, but here's the thing. I also refuse to believe that Hermione would pick that acronym knowing that it's spew.
Yeah. She's too smart.
She's too smart for that.
This is way too convenient for Jo to like continue to make it a joke, which is the whole problem. And immediately after Hermione introduces the Society of the Promotion of Elvish Welfare, then this is so bad. Ron is like, open your ears. They like being enslaved. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I was just like.
It is the wildest thing to read. It is the wildest thing to read, period. That's the end of the sentence. I just like, it's so. Why did she do this?
Yeah,
I just want to know. And I sometimes I do get nervous when we talk about this, or we talk about the goblins, or we talk about the Death Eaters are Nazis. Like, I get nervous talking about things like this because I don't want to equate them in a way that makes almost like lessens the severity of what these actual things are. Like, because this is reminiscent of a conversation about slavery, I don't want to make it seem like slavery was like less important. Like, why it is frustrating is because of how horrifying slavery was, is because of how horrifying the Holocaust was, is because of how horrifying like the KKK is. Like, these things are so horrifying that it's like, yes, I just want to like be very clear.
I feel like we have been clear that that's exactly why we get stuck on it, because it's just like, why? Why did she do this? What was she thinking in her head? Of like, oh, ha ha, hee hee.
And I think the frustratingest, quietest. The most frustrating part of the entire thing is that it is never none of these things are ever treated with the horror with which they should be treated.
No.
If these are the equivalents that she is like drawing upon, if that is where her ideas are coming from, it's never, it's always bad, but it's never evil. The only like evil thing in this whole book series is like just Voldemort. Even the like Death Eaters are given partially a pass because they're just followers of the evil guy.
Right.
And like, it just is so frustrating that it's never, the only thing that's given pushback is just the treatment of like muggles and like, and mudbloods or non-wizarded, like non-pure bloods. That's like the only thing that's ever like actually hard line in the sand. You can't treat people like this. But like, I just think a much better writer could have written this entire like house elf subplot and done it in a way in which it's not just a joke. Like, I understand it's a children's book, so there has to be some levity to it. You cannot drown this book in like complete sorrow. But at the same time, you can't also make the like person who's effectively advocating for the correct way be a fool. Like that. It's so that like, well, the bad side is bad, but the good side's just kooky. So who really knows? Like, it's like, what are we doing? It's just so frustrating.
Especially because it's slavery.
Yes.
There's no like our other argument to why slavery should exist. It's like, no, there's no world in where slavery should be a thing. So it's just weird that, and then, it's just like the fact that Ron is the one that keeps being like, they like it, leave them alone. And it's reinforced with like, when we meet the other elves that like, there so embarrassed by Dobby.
There is no other house elf besides Dobby in this entire book series that does not want to be owned.
Yeah.
And it is crazy.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I think there's nothing really else. There's nothing more to say. We've said it all. We've already said.
There's nothing more to say today.
There's nothing more to say today, but that's, the fact that it continues to come up in this book is just like every time it comes up, I know every time I'm just like, wow, God. And I'm assuming our readers are also just like, wow, this really comes up this much in this book. Cause it's like when you're a kid, you just can't really, you don't have that awareness.
You're just speed reading.
Well, you're just like, oh, it's Dobby and the other elves. And like Winky's here too. Like, you're just kind of like, oh, and Dobby, how kooky. And like he wants to get paid, and like that's weird that they think that's weird, but whatever, because it's Dobby, and you're just like, whatever. You don't really realize like
because you're like, a child.
She chose to layer this in. This was her choice,
and to do it it's not nuanced. It's not. No.
That's the biggest part of.
I'm not even asking her to like do this like slay. Like I'm not even asking it to be like one-sided on the other way. Like I'm not even asking there to not be like some kind of like the virtuous people are virtuous and the bad people are bad, and there's no explanation as to why they're bad. They're just bad. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not even asking her to do that because I think that's also disingenuous, and it lets people excuse themselves for having the feelings associated with. We talked about this on our episode today that dropped for Showgaze because we did Greatest Showman. And like there are like these characters in the movie who like yell at the freaks and like hit like throw stuff at them and like whatever. And it's like, but they're just like bland villains. Like they're just like, they're bad because there has to be an antagonist. Yeah. And it's like, but when you do that, you excuse your audience of looking at what they see in those characters. Yeah. What is so interesting is when you are able to write or create the opposite point of view, even if it's the opposing point of view of what you have, but you are able to humanize it so that people can have that uncomfortable feeling of being like, oh, maybe I do look at people with disabilities in like a certain way and like start to reflect on that to some degree. And just like, I don't think that's the correct approach either, but this is so stupid. Like, this is so weak. And it's frustrating because we know, especially as we continue down the series, that there are things that she does invest the time and nuance into.
Oh, yeah.
The reason people read this book series is because she does the work in some aspects.
Right.
Like, I'm not here for Joe, but like, I'm also not gonna say that she's not a good writer when she chooses what she wants to be a good writer about.
Yeah, of course.
And frustratingly, she seems to want to be a good writer only in things that like she cares about and not like the bigger like not all the time.
Right.
It's like pockets of good writing within like drivel.
That's the thing. It bothers me the most that it's just not nuanced at all. Like, I'm just like, you're not being intentional with it at all, and it makes it so much worse. That's what I always have a hard time with. I'm just like, yeah, that just sucks.
And I genuinely think that even if she did not keep espousing the views that she currently has, I would still be as frustrated with what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Either way. This is not me being like reflective of also her being like unfortunately a TERF, but like this is just bad. This is bad writing, and this is bad
even with
social commentary.
I mean, this should be obvious at this point, but like, it's important because of this podcast and how we talk about this book that we love. So these books that we love so much, like, it's important, especially with the things you love, to be able to call out the things about it that are problematic or, you know, whatever. It doesn't mean it has to take away the entire experience for you, but it's like, you can't sit there and be like, oh, well, it's perfect, don't say anything bad about it. And it's like, well, no, that's a problem. You have to address the things that it's like, oh, I didn't realize that when I was a kid, but now being an adult, like, yeah, that is not great, is it? That is actively bad. But enough about spew.
Enough. I washed my hands.
Yeah. Gonna wash that spew right out of my hair. It's my favorite part of the chapter. Hedwig's back. Party,
She's back from club.
Another club. What is that? Is that from something?
It's a Gaga interview.
Oh.
From like, I don't know, 2013. Like, it's so old.
Did you like the Gaga tweet that I sent in the group chat today? Did you see it?
It's great.
Hedwig is back. I'm so excited. She has Sirius's letter, and Sirius said that he's coming back up north immediately. He's very concerned. He tells Harry if his scar hurts again at all, he needs to go straight to Dumbledore. And he said he was there. Moody must be reading the signs. There's weird things happening, and I'm gonna like listen to the signs like Moody is.
I think he's saying Dumbledore is reading the signs because Dumbledore hired Moody. He got Moody to come out of retirement, I think is what he meant.
Okay, Dumbledore's reading the signs. That makes more sense. Where do you think he was? Do you think he was like in Ibiza or something?
Ibiza?
I'm
gonna say
he was down south.
Was right, which could be anything from Paris to
anywhere.
The Cape of tropical. Good Hope in South Africa.
But right. He could have been in Africa. Hedwig probably did go to Africa. Jeez.
I'm going to say he was probably on the Mediterranean coast. That's my guess.
Okay. Sure.
But maybe like the North African part, like Morocco.
We'll have to see if that bird in your book is a real bird. And then where that bird is native to.
I won't be doing any of that research, but that
send me a picture. I will do it.
Ornithologist Ariana.
Biology of birds, TA.
Yeah. Tits and ass.
And then, do you know what I'm going to say? You know what I'm going to say. Harry is so rude.
Yeah.
Rude to Hedwig.
Yeah.
This girl probably just got back from Africa.
By flying, by using her wings.
I need to cease Hedwig from Harry. Hedwig, come live with me. Me and Khaleesi and Jack. We're a good time.
We need Owl Protective Services. What's going on here? This is an abusive household.
I was so upset.
This owl is in danger.
So he yells at her and he's like,
this owl is in danger. Let's start there. This owl is in danger.
Mm-hmm.
No spoilers, but
we said it here
this
first.
Owl is in danger.
You heard it here.
Poor Hedwig.
But I did kind of like that when she flew off, she bitch slapped him.
On the way out.
She was like, yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. She was just like, no. So honestly, Hedwig, good on ya. Yeah, work, girl. She was turning a trick actually when she left.
And then she shablammed, did some voguing, and flew out of the room. It was incredible. It was a real performance.
It was a lip sync for your life in that moment. Harry's very upset. He goes into his dorm room. And when Ron comes up, he doesn't say anything to him. And then as he's falling asleep, not really Harry, but the narrator's perspective notates that if Harry hadn't been so, I don't know, in his own head, he would have realized that typically Neville is snoring and Neville was not snoring. So he wasn't the only one that was lying awake in his bed.
Very sad.
And that's it. That's a chapter.
But this is the worst. Okay. We're about to start getting into teen angst territory.
Okay.
Which is just
With
in this
Neville?
book series in general. No, just in this book series in general. This is the first bit of teenagers acting like teenagers. And I'm not saying that this is not how I act. I acted.
Sure, we all did. We all had teen angst.
As an adult.
Oh, yeah.
It is so frustrating
to
read because you're making every wrong decision right now.
You're making everything worse for yourself.
Yes.
Please stop.
Stop doing that. And book 5 is book 5 is the peak, I think, of teen
Book
angst.
5 is when shit hits the fan.
Yeah. And justifiably so.
Oh, sure, yeah. But once again, this is why they need therapists. This is why
they need a fucking art class. Are you kidding me?
This is why there need to be therapists at Hogwarts.
Girl, that wraps up this chapter. Next week, we'll be reading chapter 15 called Beauxbatons and Durmstrang.
Durmstrang.
You can find the podcast.
I wonder what that's about.
It's going to be, I guarantee it's going to be another one where they don't arrive until the very end.
Yeah.
And then the carriage touched down. And
right.
That's the end of the chapter.
Oh my God. I'm sure you're right.
And the ship rose from the Black Lake.
Yeah.
You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever, you find your podcasts. As always, and as well as video versions on the Ampliverse YouTube channel. As always, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so we can get a perfect Newt score. 5 stars only, or else you, just like Neville, will have to disembowel a barrel full of horned toads. One of the worst things she's ever written.
Happened.
This is why I was like, oh, you went, okay. Oh, we're in the class now because I had a note on it. But I brought it back up here, so we're all good. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, please. I don't tweet. Nobody does, but might as well follow it. HB Anxious, Instagram at HB Anxious. Ari does actually do stuff with that. You can even message her and she'll respond.
Yeah, maybe not quickly, but I will respond.
If you message me on Twitter, I will respond. I will respond to DMs. Will I tweet? Probably not. I'm too busy curating my own personal Twitter. You can follow me at Adam Noacker if you want to. And YouTube at the Ampliverse. Mm-hmm. We are hosted on Anchor and recorded on Zencastro, so we'd love to thank the both of them. Thank you, girlies.
Thank you, girlies. Thank you, besties.
Besties per. And our proud member of the Ampliverse. Check them out at theampliverse.com. Thank you, Ariana.
Thank you, Adam.
This was very succinct this week. I'm very proud of you. And as always, Knox.
Okay.
The Arri seal of approval.
I was like, is quiet is happening? Okay. I hope not. And then you said knock. So I was like,
abracadabra.